After Earth is a work of fart, and it shouldn't have come as much of a surprise to anybody paying attention to the production. But alas, we live in a society where people watch movies based on who appears in the trailer. And who doesn't love who doesn't love Will Smith? From 2002 until now, his lowest grossing film still made over $150 million, and most of them made more than double that amount. He's kind of a cash magnet to say the least, so what the fuck happened? So even though this movie made money in the foreign market, it kind of fucking failed in the States, and considering the marketing budget was $100 million, they just barely broke even. Wasn't received too well critically either. I mean, it's only got 6 Razzie nominations, so how does a major fuck up like that even happen? Could it be that the film's quality is primarily dependent on the director and not necessarily the celebrities that are casted in the film? I mean, we've all seen at least one trailer for the movie. With an advertising budget like that, who hasn't? But you gotta wonder why it doesn't mention the director's name anywhere. Like, not every trailer has a big title showing off their name, I know, but it's fucking nowhere. It's not on any of the posters, and I don't see it anywhere on their shitty website. With the way the studio's trying to hide them, you'd almost think it was directed by M. Night.
No! God!
Wow! It's an extension of who you are!
No! God, please, no!
Whether I make a movie idea or not, whether it's mine or anybody's, it has to have a sticky quality to it.
No!
And if it has a stickiness, then I go, oh yeah. There's thousands of ideas that are gonna stick to it. But again, I can tell by the stickiness whether it's gonna work or not.
No!
When I asked where the cough syrup was, I didn't even have a cough. And I almost bought it. And I'm talking about a completely superfluous bottle of cough syrup. That's like $6.
No! You can't just stand and use the unimpromptu server! I need a second, okay? Just give me a second. We're not gonna be one of those assholes on the news who watches a crime happen and not do something. We're not assholes. Just a second. There were children in that Elliot, please tell us what to do. I need a second, okay? Why can't anybody give me a goddamn second?
No! God, please, no! No!
No!
Yes.
So it's pretty obvious that Sony was trying to hide the fact that M. Night had anything to do with this film, and that's not to say that there wasn't good reason to do it. He's pretty much become a laughingstock at this point. Sony wound up putting out a statement saying it had less to do with them wanting to cover up M. Night, and more to do with them wanting to promote Will and Jaden. Really? As if the mere inclusion of his name in one of the trailers would have taken away from the promotion of Will and Jaden. Yeah, I'm gonna assume it had to do with something else.
You faced some heat for some of your previous films. I have to ask, is there one film in particular that you felt got the rap a little undeservedly?
Yeah, there's a few of those. There's a few of those.
Now, not everyone was fooled by this sneaky marketing tactic. In fact, if this wasn't directed by M. Night, I don't even think I would have watched it. If you watch his more recent films as comedies, it makes them much more enjoyable.
Global warming.
Should be more interested in science, Jake. You know why? Because your face is perfect.
Planning on seeing this movie in theaters with the hopes that it would be a giant piece of shit. And my mom just so happened to be visiting from out of town on the release date of this movie, so I kind of tricked her into watching it. I mean, she said she wanted to see it, so I just didn't warn her about what kind of movie it was gonna be. And it was kind of crazy to witness their marketing tactic actually working on people.
Why do you want to see it?
Because I saw the trailers, and I like sci-fi. It has the parental, father-son kind of catch to it.
Do you know who made it?
No.
That's okay. I know. But we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, you can't deny that it wasn't their exact intent to trick people like that. No, of course we weren't trying to hide him. We just really wanted to emphasize Will and Jaden, and focusing on anything else would have taken away from that.
Columbia Pictures will host a Google Plus Hangout with the stars of After Earth. Joining will be Elon Musk, co-founder of Tesla Motors and PayPal, Ray Kurzweil, Google's Director of Engineering, explorer, and filmmaker Alexandra Cousteau, and NASA's Sunita Williams.
And we have middle school from Culver City, California.
Well, we definitely agree with what Jaden said earlier. We know that we have to continue what is helping our Earth, and we definitely have to keep using the reusable things. And we really have to do it and start acting now, because we have to make sure that our future generations aren't in trouble like we are right now.
And yeah, maybe nobody deserves to be tricked into seeing an M. Night Shyamalan movie, but I was determined on seeing it as soon as possible. There was a burning question that needed to be answered. Could M. Night possibly make a film that's worse than The Last Airbender? I wasn't quite sure it was possible, but somehow, I kinda think he did. Now, what's interesting to note about this movie is that even though it follows the same trend of bad, this movie wasn't even M. Night's idea to begin with. Yes, he did write the screenplay with Gary Whitta, but the only reason this movie even exists is because Will Smith was using it as a catalyst to turn his son into a movie star.
So you actually came up with the concept for this movie, as a vehicle for you and Jaden to star together again.
I invited him to come to my birthday party, which he didn't come to. So he called me to say, I'm sorry I couldn't come to your birthday, and he said, happy birthday. I said, thanks, and then we just started talking about Jaden.
And I said, hey, and I saw Karate Kid. I thought Jaden's an amazing actor. And
he said, I have a movie idea. You want me to pitch you? And he pitched me this idea.
And then he said, well, if you're gonna direct it, I'll play the father. And so really it was a movie for Jaden first.
Right.
And then Will came on.
And then when he finished, I said, I'll do it. And he was like, what?
Just like that.
Just like that. It was just like that. And I think Will thought I was joking, because Will develops a lot of movies. He probably has like 20 movies in development. I have 0 movies in development.
I mean, we'd already seen him in The Pursuit of Happiness and The Karate Kid, but Will wanted one final film to solidify his fame.
And I'm glad that my dad wrote the story in a way that I play the lead, because he could have written himself as a lead easily.
It feels like you guys made a summer action movie out of parenting.
This is really the most effective way that I know how to parent.
Will Smith can't just be famous, he has to breed famous.
Congratulations, you're not only starring in this movie, you're producing, you came up with the story.
And I even produced the other actor.
I mean, just look at his family. They want nothing more than to be known as the perfect celebrity family. And hey, there's nothing wrong with fulfilling your kids' wishes if you got millions of dollars lying around anyway. But something tells me there was a little bit of coercion to be in the spotlight. Nobody named Will and Jada would name their kids Willow and Jaden unless they wanted everybody to be paying attention. Hey everybody, don't you just love my family? Look at my kids. I can mass produce superstars with my dick. Man, your kids are such talented songwriters.
No pun intended, was raised by the power of will.
I mean, it all sounds so professional and produced. It's almost as if there was a team of Hollywood writers behind the whole thing. Oh, so when they're reading the lyrics as though they're speaking about themselves, they're actually just being used as puppets so adults can make money off of them? Let's glorify them in our culture. In all fairness, for all I know, Will Smith could be a great father. I mean, how cool would it be to be like, Dad, I was thinking of maybe starring in a summer blockbuster action movie, and I was wondering if maybe you and your rich and famous friends could get together and turn me into a superstar. But as cool as that would be, I think the vast majority of us are glad we weren't thrown into the spotlight at 14. I mean, fuck, I'd be the king of cringe threads if those existed when I was younger. Is it not unfair to your kids to have the whole world watching them when they haven't even figured out who they are yet?
As strange as it may seem, like this is our family business. We own a pizzeria and everybody in the family works at the pizzeria, and it just happens that our pizza ends up on a poster.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's not your family business. Your family is a business. Will, it's cool that you love your family and I'm really happy for you, but there's a difference between loving your son and wanting everyone in the world to pay attention to how much you love your son.
If you crash landed on another planet, what's one thing you would bring with you that you could never live without?
Jaden.
Me.
I would bring you.
You bring me.
You know, just based on our relationship, I know that you'd be willing to give your life for me if you had to.
Sure, you can cake your children's faces with makeup every day, hiding pimples so well that people forget that puberty's even a thing. But do you really think the whole world should be watching them at this point, when in 10 years from now, they'll be looking back at every single pseudo-intellectual tweet they've ever sent and thinking, holy shit, I was retarded. Most trees are blue. How can mirrors be real if our eyes aren't real? If newborn babies could speak, they would be the most intelligent beings on planet Earth. If everybody in the world dropped out of school, we would have a much more intelligent society. Dying is mainstream, #money. I watch Twilight every night. Come to think of it, it's kind of unfair how everyone's grouping in that last tweet with his other embarrassing ones. Like, is it not obvious that he's not actually talking about the movie and that it's a clever play on words? I guess it's really his own fault that people don't understand if he's going to insist on capitalizing every single fucking word. Man, with all these attempts at sounding deep, you'd almost think someone was encouraging him.
You guys never crash landed on Earth before?
Yeah, we've
Seriously?
never.
No, I mean,
crash
technically, when you land in a plane, it's a controlled crash land, so technically we have crash landed on Earth.
Okay. That's deep.
There's a certain airflow that you have to do, a certain frequency of the atoms.
Right, that
and
you
electrons.
adjust.
What is nothing?
What is nothing? Now that's deep.
And what is something?
And what is something? Right.
Because zero is an undefined number. It can be nothing.
It can be nothing.
But it can also be everything.
Wow.
Seriously, just let him develop and figure out who he is. Like your other lesser-known son, Trey. You know, the one that you don't parade around as much because it reminds people that you had a divorce. I'm sure he appreciates that the world wasn't watching him when he was developing. The world is filled with assholes who can't wait to laugh at someone doing something the slightest bit embarrassing. Like me. Just let the guy grow out of his terrible laugh before you're filming him every second.
Alright, we'll take a break.
Like, come on, do you have to make that face every time someone takes a picture?
There's a thing that he does in all his pictures that is like the furrowed brow.
I don't do it.
You don't? No, you do. Show the look. Show the look.
This is my look now.
This is my look. No, it's not. That's not it.
It's this weird, like, pouty-lipped, like, confused puppy, like...
Yeah, that's it. That's it right there. That's it. Well, no, because you leave your mouth open just a little bit. Yes, that's it. That's it. And that's the shot, right? Every single picture from the last year.
I don't do it anymore. It's not from the last year.
It is, Jada. You just did it yesterday.
To be fair, I also had a habit of making the same face in every picture. Anyway, now that you know exactly where this movie's coming from and why it exists in the first place, I think it's time to start tearing it to shreds. The movie opens up right in the middle of the action, specifically the shot that we've already seen in the trailer. How riveting. We're then introduced to Jaden Smith, who appears to be having some troubles. But that's okay, because he's going to use this time to force feed us everything we need to know about the future. You know, things that could probably be shown or cleverly written into conversations throughout the film, but zero effort. Hell, we could even use some random stock footage to help set the tone. That's never been done before in any other movie ever. Hilariously enough, it seems as though the original plan was to write it into other parts of the movie. I mean, just listen to co-writer Gary Whitta at Comic-Con.
At the beginning of the movie, we see Jaden is kind of going through his training at the Ranger Military Academy, and part of that training is he has to pass an oral exam on the history of his people in the last 1,000 years. And so as he's kind of answering questions about the history of his people and the exodus from Earth, we're also educating the audience about everything that happened.
So somewhere down the line, they decided that it was not a good idea to do that, but instead just have Jaden Smith start talking to the audience in what seems to be an inappropriate moment.
I've heard stories of Earth.
I'm really hurt and I'm gonna die, but first, let me educate you on the history of my people. He explains how 1,000 years ago, human beings had to evacuate Earth.
An evacuation of Earth.
They then settled on a planet called Nova Prime, and apparently they were not alone.
But we were not alone. The aliens released the Ursa.
The aliens.
Bred to kill humans. Technically blind. The Ursa sees humans based on the pheromones we secrete when frightened. Humankind was again in danger of extinction, and that answer came in the form of the Prime Commander Cypher Rage, the original ghost. He's believed to be so completely free of fear that to an Ursa, he is invisible. This phenomena is known as ghosting.
I mean, I get that the only point that you really want to get across is that a creature exists that can smell your fear, but if you're gonna try and explain it by saying there was a big war between humans and the aliens, then could you at least do it in such a way that doesn't raise more questions than it answers? Like, if mankind was facing extinction and the only thing that stopped that was Cypher Rage, and that's also your dad, then does that mean that he's over 1,000 years old? Or that the war had been going on for 1,000 years? Or that humans lived peacefully on that planet without any interaction with aliens whatsoever, and then 999 years later the aliens find us and start a war, and that maybe it was just a really poor choice of wording to say we were not alone? Did the aliens already live on this planet, or did they find you after you inhabited the planet? How long after you lived on this planet did you come into contact with them? Did it take humans 1,000 years to find the planet? You're leaving it pretty vague there. You know, if you're gonna have an entire segment on you just explaining things to the audience, you'd think that you'd want to, you know, explain things to the audience. Well, apparently the only thing you really need to know is that there's a creature called the Ursa, and even though aliens supposedly bred them for the sole purpose of killing humans, they just didn't give them eyes because they thought that everybody would be so scared that they wouldn't eat them. We get a nice little title telling us that the next scene is going to take place 3 days earlier, which, considering we have no idea whether or not a human lifespan can last over 1,000 years, is kind of helpful information. We're told that the scene takes place on the Nova Prime human settlement in the Nova Solar System. Oh, it's the one in the Nova Solar System? I thought it was the other one. I'm really glad it made that clarification. This movie knows exactly what details to explain and what should be left up to assumption. Oh my god, is that how people run in the future? No, it looks like it's just Jaden.
This isn't a race, cadet!
Oh my god, your accent's weird too. Dat, run though. Why the fuck are you bringing your arms up in front of your face?
He literally wanted me to learn how to, like, run. Like,
yeah. No, it's important. It's important. No, see, because it's like movie star training, you know, because you see, guys, when you run in a movie, ladies make a lot of decisions about whether or not you can be an action hero by how you run. You know what I mean? There's a certain way your body has to look when you run, you know. So I had him train with a sprinter because that's the most athletic looking run.
90 degrees, that's 90, right? And you break that 90-degree barrier, then you're in trouble. So you want to stay at 90 degrees the whole time. All of the power in your upper body when you're running comes from the shoulder. You never pumping your arms here. You know, you see people running and they doing this with their arms. You don't want to do that.
How embarrassing.
In the classroom, you are an outstanding Ranger.
Outstanding? Okay, it's become pretty clear that this inconsistent accent is going to be used by everybody in the movie.
We had a linguist come in and break down what language would be 1,000 years in the future and sort of predict what language would be. Just for it to have a slightly different sound so you felt like you were in a different world.
Part Southern, part British, and part completely fucking random. Okay, so unless you have some extremely clear guidelines for the actor's pronunciation, it's going to be very difficult for them to keep a consistent accent. Will, do you seriously think your son is capable enough of an actor to even pull that off? I mean, if he was, then you wouldn't have needed to hire M. Night to make this movie for him anyway, right? Did you not see how that would be a surefire way to force every single line of dialogue into being unintentionally hilarious?
I thought maybe he was a young man with a speech impediment. No, seriously, I thought that's how they wanted this character to be, that, you know, he's small for his age, he has some
disability
to overcome or to conquer. And so I thought that was part of it. I thought maybe he had a speech impediment.
And then Will Smith started talking like that too. Anyway, we find out that he's training to be a ranger, but he's just not good enough, oh no.
Sir, I am dedicated, have studied, and consistently display conduct becoming of a ranger, sir.
The look on his face makes it seem like he's trying to get out a tongue twister, and it seems like he fucked up his enunciation somewhere, because the middle of that sentence was clearly re-recorded. And by re-recorded, I mean they used another take, because I don't know what else they could have done to make it sound so unprofessional. Hear that popping noise when the original take comes back in?
Sir, I am dedicated, have studied, and consistently display conduct becoming of a ranger, sir.
Yeah, somebody never learned how to use crossfades. I don't blame him for having to use another take, though, because this entire scene, it sounds like Jaden's choking on his lines.
I request that the commander reconsider his assessment, sir.
Sir.
My father's returning home tonight.
Ah, shit.
And I've got to be able to tell him that I'm a ranger, sir.
This movie is too good. So Cypher Rage gets home, and we learn that the design choice of the future is cloth. Aw yeah, motherfucking 3-prong chopsticks. Katai tells his dad that he was not advanced to Ranger.
You were not advanced to Ranger.
I was not advanced to Ranger, sir.
Cypher seems okay about it and trusts that it'll do better next year, but Katai is noticeably upset about it.
I'm hungry. Going to my room.
Are you asking me or telling me?
May I go to my room, sir?
Denied! Sit down!
Holy shit.
There was a lovely moment, and I wondered if it's like this at home, when you say, sit down at the dinner table at the beginning of the film, and you sit down, and I thought there's probably you've got a bit of eye contact going on there, and I'm thinking, I wonder if it's like that at home.
I know.
The movie is exactly like our lives. Everything that takes place in the movie is exactly kind of what goes on in our lives, except, but it's not.
I love how he's kind of grinning as he does it. Like the only joy in his life is yelling at his son. As soon as he gets home, he's like, I hope that boy talks back to me.
You were not advanced to Ranger.
I was not advanced.
Denied! Later, Cypher Rage explains to his wife that despite having just gotten home from what was supposedly a very long absence, he's leaving again tomorrow to supervise training on Athetos.
I'm announcing my retirement.
Oh, you're about to retire soon? I sure hope nothing happens to you on your last visit. That would be a cliche. She says that Katai blames himself for what happened to Senshi, an event that will be explained later in the movie. She tells Cypher that he really needs a father, so Cypher tells Katai to pack his bags because he's coming with him to Athetos. They're about to leave when a one-legged soldier decides he needs to pay his respects. I love how absolutely nothing in this environment looks like it's actually there. It's the magic of computers. We then get a long and awkward shot of Jaden staring at his dad before finally saying,
I'm reading Moby Dick.
Oh. Cool. So everyone around him falls asleep and he decides to start exploring around the ship. He comes across this room when suddenly, where the fuck did you come from? Meanwhile, Will Smith wakes up and something is obviously bothering him. He takes off his ring and holds it to the wall and hears a strange clicking sound. So once this guy finds out that Katai is Cypher Rage's son, he decides he's gonna start fucking with him. Katai seems curious and concerned about the fact that an Ursa is being stored on the ship. It's supposedly going to be used for part of the training. And so this guy seems like he's just trying to make Katai piss his pants.
Blood is filling with adrenaline right now, whether you know it or not. Your heart's beating fast.
Okay, I think I get what this scene is trying to be. The tone kind of implies that his narration is supposed to somehow make audience members feel the same thing, which might work under a different context where we're actually able to feel scared. But the amount of enjoyment that this man is clearly getting from just fucking with this kid turns this entire scene into a comedy.
It's getting a little harder to breathe. Your neurobiological system is telling him to run. Your knees are too weak to move.
It seems like you want me to take this seriously, but how the fuck am I supposed to do that? Like, why the fuck do you need to be so detailed with the hand gestures if he can't even see you? Well, apparently those gestures weren't important enough to include when it was showing him in the background. This is so stupid. Anyway, he gets close and scared enough that the Ursa sees him, but Cypher Rage shows up to put an end to it. Does that ramp go anywhere? Not like a really confusing and awkward way to design your set or anything. He shows Katai back to his seat and tells him to strap on the life suit that's behind it. He then pays the pilots a visit and says,
I detected graviton vibrations in the hull.
Oh, so that thing that you were doing with your ring, you were detecting graviton vibrations. Okay.
But you detected how? Graviton buildup could be a precursor to mass expansion.
You didn't answer that guy's question.
That storm could be on us in minutes.
He asked you how you detected it. Stop asking questions and just listen to this science mumbo jumbo. The fact that he had no idea how he detected it leads me to believe one of two things. Either what he did with his ring is just a trick that he doesn't want to share with people, or he's basically omniscient and he just knows things. Like, what the fuck caused him to put his ring there in the first place? I can't sleep. Too many gravitons. Like, if it's something that you did with your ring, then shouldn't that be a feature that's already built into this highly advanced ship? Or maybe you just felt it rumble a little and you're like, yep, must be the gravitons.
Mass expansion is 1 in a million.
So even though graviton buildup could be a precursor to mass expansion, apparently it is 1 in a million. But Cypher Rage just knows things, okay? He doesn't feel fear, so he's smart.
If we try to navigate out, the pull of our own graviton weight could set the thing off.
The pilots then notice the graviton levels decreasing. Wait, so you've been able to measure gravitons this whole time? So why did Cypher Rage need to tell you that there was graviton buildup? Dude, it doesn't matter. The ship's gotta crash somehow. We needed to get to the initial incident either way, so why does it matter how little sense it makes? I feel like it would have been better if they just crashed and the characters themselves had no idea why it happened. No, dude, just say it was mass expansion. You know, because of the graviton buildup.
There was graviton vibrations that already told us that there was going to be mass expansion.
How did he detect it though?
He had a metal ring and he saw that the magna flows, particles, flowed in the magna space.
In the hull.
And the fact that they were flowing in magna space meant, obviously, mass expansion was going to occur. None of these other guys went to school. Okay, Will Smith was the only guy who was paying attention in class.